Drugs are a part of human culture, and a relationship that has affected how we live in our lives. In ancient Greece, the prominence of drugs shaped daily life, but the reasons for their use varied widely. Regardless of the implications of these drugs, one thing is certain: drug use in the ancient Greek world can be seen from a variety of perspectives. In this discussion, I will primarily focus on two perspectives: one of a social scientist, more specifically a psychologist, and also an artist's perspective. Some of the most documented involvement of drug use comes from Homer's The Odyssey. More specifically, the story of Circe and Odysseus in Book 10 of the Odyssey. In Book 10 of the Odyssey, Circe, the goddess of sorcery, uses drugs to try to capture Odysseus' men, and eventually Odysseus himself. In one instance, Circe makes a concoction of multiple items, but most notably includes a drug to make the soldiers forget about their homes, then after turning them into pigs. And in the same book, Circe tries to seduce Odysseus by drugging him with her drinks and meals. While this is a Greek mythological poem, this ancient text provides some insight into what drugs are possibly used for. This story alone provides two reasons how drugs could have been used, either to seduce or to gain superiority over others. From a psychological perspective, one can see this as Circe's attempt to cure her loneliness, both through turning the soldiers into animals she can connect with and possibly using Odysseus as an intimate partner. However, we can go even further and infer that the only way for her to ensure she isn't lonely is to gain power from others through drugging, as displayed by her turning the soldiers from their human form to the form of pigs. On the other hand, an artist might see Circe's act as a beautiful depiction of the extent one will go to avoid being alone. Similarly, this Minoan terracotta figurine artifact, known as the Poppy Goddess, also supports the notion that drugs are used to enhance one's reality. This artifact dates back between 1400 and 1100 BC, and was found in a sanctuary in Gazi, Crete. On Poppy Goddess's head, one can clearly see the crown of poppy heads, but if we look closer at the artifact, we can learn that the Minoans did learn how to extract opium, as shown by the vertical cuts on the poppy's heads. It is from here that they gained the white milky substance to use how they wished. While Circe's story focused on using drugs to enhance one's situation in the physical world, we can infer, based on where the Poppy Goddess artifact was discovered, that the Minoans used opium in a more religious manner, hoping to enhance their spiritual world. From an artistic perspective, an artist may say that the proximity of the opium to the figurine's head represents the opium's ability to reach a new plane in the mind. Additionally, an artist can say that the cuts on the poppy's heads are symbolic of how one must cut or open their mind in order to speak to the gods, like the Poppy Goddess. But drugs were not only used recreationally, but also to heal oneself. One of the best accounts of drug use to heal comes from the writings of Hippocrates. More specifically, his writings of decency and decorum, where Hippocrates describes to the physician how to have decency with their duties. Hippocrates says that a physician must be aware of the compounding of his drugs for the various intentions they may have, but always taking into account the subjects one is performing medicine on and not doing more than what is needed. For he asserts that frequent visits would have to be conducted to learn more about healing or possibly regulate errors that have been made. Hippocrates says, quote, "The disease will thus be better understood and mistakes less liable." This text is important because it supports the use of drugs as a way to supplement one's life. We can learn that not everyone wanted to abuse drugs for selfish purposes, but rather to understand themselves. From the perspective of psychologists, one can see drug use, as described in this text, as a way to cure oneself and learn more about the human condition, and rather as a practice to achieve definitive truth in some sense, so others did not have to suffer physician errors or the unwanted effects of taking too much of a drug, thus reinforcing the Hippocrates' willingness to find the proper way to use drugs for the purpose of healing, so we can understand our bodies and cure the things that hurt us deep inside. Along the theme of learning more about our bodies, an artifact from the early classical Greek period can help us better understand how drugs were seen by others. This artifact is called the Exaltation of the Flower. It is a 5th century BCE marble fragment that was a funerary slab. While many historians argue that the two women in the fragment are holding either a pomegranate flower or poppies, because of the fragment's purpose as a funerary stele, many believe that it was used to commemorate individuals who were followers of the cult of Demeter and Persephone, as they believe the two women depicted are these two goddesses. These cults are noted by historians to have used psychoactive drugs. This artistic portrayal of the two women can help us learn more about how others felt about drugs. The two women's happy nature can help describe how others felt when taking opium. The closeness of the two women can also symbolize the sense of the community drugs were seen as giving, while also simultaneously depicting that drugs helped one become more social. Drugs in the ancient Greek world could be used to help one's health and life, or abused to enhance one's reality, both spiritually or physically. Drug use can be seen as a way to deal with the emotions one is feeling. or it can be seen simply as a way to see the world in a new light, giving a more creative and artistic lens. However, understanding drug use is important to understanding ancient Greek culture because of how integrated it was into society. Its different uses, forms, and portrayal in literature gives us some insight into how common drug use could be. From this, we can make connections to how drug use could have had more of an influence in other daily activities, thus leading us to make more discoveries about this interesting time in history, even long after this time period took place.